All right.
Hello and welcome to Not a Safe Space. This is Sabrina.
And Tabby,
Hey girl, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I feel like I haven't spoken to you in forever.
I know it's been quite a while, and you
And
are looking like a hot mess this morning.
I, I have my glasses on for anybody that gets to see this video. Tank top and sports bra because I am determined to work out today. I feel like a blimp, even though technically I haven't gained any weight. I've been on vacation for 10 days now. Today's my first day back. And I look how I feel, I think.
Hungover.
Yeah, well, not even, yeah, like traveled hungover. And even
Right.
this, can you see, like I broke a nail, which for me is fucking terrible.
Oh, we broke a nail.
I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it happened yesterday at the Jaguar football game, and I I hate to be that girl that's walking. Nobody's gonna know that I just broke my nail, right? So they're gonna be like, "Oh, this bitch can't get her nails done."
Nobody thinks that.
I do in my head, so it drives me
Do you?
crazy.
Do you judge me for my nails? Yeah, I see that finger.
Yeah, it's my middle finger.
Do you judge me for my nails?
Everybody, I judge everybody. Yes.
You judge me for I work on a farm. What the fuck? You can't judge me for my nails.
No, it's a free country.
Bitch, you get out here and do the work that I do, and let's see how your fucking nails look afterwards.
You know what Jen said one day? She said her nails weren't done, and she looked at somebody and she was like, "Listen, I'll bet you $20 Sabrina's contemplating unfriending me at this point because she's noticed my nails." And I was like, "All right, I did notice your nails. I just wasn't going to say anything."
Wow.
I
Well, if
can't
you
say
ever
it. I'm a bit.
disappear, I know what it is, but my nails are pretty shitty.
Right. You have an excuse. You work on a farm. And it's more the half nails that I don't like. Like, you either don't get your nails done, which is fine because there's sometimes that I don't,
Right.
or you have them done. But when they're halfway done or chip, I can't, like, just go get some nail polish remover.
You
Oh,
mean like this? Does that drive you crazy? Can you not stand that?
asshole. You're
Okay.
like, keep talking, bitch. Keep talking. I'm about to show you my nails.
I'm about to show you my fucking nails.
Now I'm sweating. I'm sweating.
Don't have a panic attack. It's just a nail.
3 minutes into it, I'm already insulting the host. What a bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. That's okay.
So I missed you.
I have missed you too.
Hopefully you missed me.
I know, because you're fucking insulting my nails. That's awesome.
Oh, I know. And probably half our listeners, because nobody else is as crazy as I am.
Really? Well, you
Yeah.
got to be kind of crazy to be, your friend. Too.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. So I wanted to make some shout outs. I know that a couple people have emailed me, Elizabeth, Krista, Emily, Charlene, that they've been listening to our podcast. And I want to say thank you. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've got some others out there too. So on behalf of Tabby and I, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us as we figure this journey out. And we hope you're enjoying what you're hearing. And if you have any suggestions, comments, or concerns, please email us and let us know, because this is an open space and we're open for all of that.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you guys. We really, really, really appreciate it.
Right. And tell your friends and
yes.
Tell them to come listen and see if I'll insult them in the first 3 minutes of the fucking podcast.
Exactly. Share our post. Tell people about it.
Right. Yes.
Tag people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's only fair to talk about Hurricane Dorian.
Yep.
First thing this morning, so I left the great state of Florida that we live in right before the hurricane. I know you guys were here.
Mm-hmm.
Just for anybody that is outside of the state or outside the country, because I'll tell you what, it's been the number one article on Fox News for over a week. So it definitely was national news. I was in Texas and it was all anybody could talk about. And what I find kind of funny is, well, what's not funny, obviously, is that the Bahamas was hit with a Cat 5 and there's 44 deaths.
Right.
and it's going to continue to rise, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. I'm very impressed with South Florida and the way that South Florida has responded to the Bahamas. I find the Bahamas just to be an extension of Florida. It's a 30-minute boat ride for most of us there. And uh, my clients and my friends that I'm involved with that live down there, I've noticed since the hurricane hit, they sent barges and
Mm-hmm.
barges of supplies. And these are just personal people. Somebody up here in Jacksonville bought $60,000 worth of generators and sent them down there. It's just, if there's anything about a hurricane, is it shows what a community we all really are.
Mm-hmm.
When I know a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how, my neighbors and I don't even truly talk to each other every once in a while. But during a hurricane, it's a different situation. We all check on each other. Is there anything you need? Is there anything we can do to help get ready for anything? And then afterwards, all we have is one another. We don't have power anymore. We don't have our cell phones. We don't have internet. We don't have cable. We only have one another to hang out with, check on, actually talk to one another.
Depend on one another.
Yeah, I actually love that part of the hurricane.
It has to do with not just the hurricane, but any disaster. Like
Mm-hmm.
any major catastrophe, like everybody comes together. We put aside our differences, our political views, our, you know, everything. I don't disagree with you and this and that's great. But as a human, we're here to help you. And because nobody wants to be in those situations.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think it's natural disasters that remind us that we're more than just a Facebook post.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think that it's like you said, national disasters that show that we're more than just Facebook friends, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we
Right.
truly do care about one another and will help one another. And I think that is the beautiful thing about a bad situation like a hurricane.
Right.
The other thing that I enjoy about it, besides the days off of work, which I didn't get to take advantage of because I'd already taken vacation days.
You aren't going to get a day off from work anyways.
Yeah,
Anything, you'd be working more.
I know. I did a 6 a.m. conference call while I was in Vegas, but that's for another day. Um, was the funny ass memes that people post waiting for the hurricane to come.
Oh my gosh. It was insane. Facebook was in. Did you see the one I posted? Did you see that video I posted?
Which one
Just
was
in
it?
case, and this was for Floridians, okay? In case you forgot, you can get water from a faucet.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody's freaking out about bottled water. I'm going, fill up some fucking zippy bags and put them in your freezer. Fill up gallon jugs.
Right, right.
I'm like, you know what we used to do? And before this whole bottled water fad, when we had our hurricane, we used to fill up the bathtub.
The bathtubs. I
The
know.
bathtubs with water.
I only found out a couple years ago that was not to bathe in. I thought that was for us to bathe in.
No! What the hell?
So I'm gonna be pouring my fucking metal tin mug into my bathtub like Laura Ingalls in the old days. That's how they used to drink. That's how Pa used to drink water out of that big old wooden barrel.
Yeah, well, normally you're not supposed to drink out of it either. It's mainly to flush. Because
Oh.
because when the power's out and you don't have any water, especially if you're in the city, there's no way to flush. So you got to
Uh-huh.
have the water to flush. And then you would use a little bit of it to shower. But
Right.
it's a shower what my grandma you would call a P&T shower.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what P&T stands for?
Yeah. Uh-uh.
Tits and pussy.
Oh,
You can
nice. So a
clean
whore
the
bath.
necessities.
Yeah, my dad used to call it a whore bath.
Yes,
Like you're just wiping down the essentials.
exactly.
Yeah, well, thankfully we didn't lose any power or anything. So what we really, like our experience, which I think was probably similar to yours, was funny memes, buy some supplies, which
Yep.
again, like this, did you see the supply list I shared that was
Mhm.
recommended on the news? It was like a lantern and lantern oil. Okay. Who the fuck? I gotta
Well, I actually do have lanterns, so
You do?
yeah, I have lanterns.
Well,
Yeah, I have old 1800s stuff. Now, whether they work or not, I don't know. But I have old lanterns.
well, you should have bought some lantern oil
I
according to
could have in a wick, and I would have known how to put it in, put the oil in, and fucking light the bitch on fire.
the problem is in our house is we never have a fucking lighter.
No, because Lorelai would steal it and probably hide it somewhere.
Right. Well, no, or somebody because none of us are smokers. We don't truly have a lighter, so the one that we have disappears every once in a while. So then we have to go searching for it, and we don't like candles in this house either. So
Oh, really?
no, I like those wax burners.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we have. So then there's the problem of finding a an actual lighter. Now I did like the meme that said something like, "Okay, Linda, you've survived off of 4 Pepsis a day, and now you need 8 bottles of water a day."
Oh, or the one that goes all of a sudden 4 sodas a day. Now you need 40 gallons of bottled water because you're a fish.
Right, right. And then well, I wonder like what all those people like. I saw some of my friends that I know. Look, I don't drink as much water as I should.
Right.
And I know some of my friends that definitely don't, that had trunks filled with water. What are you doing with all that shit now?
Hopefully donating it to the Bahamas, you greedy motherfuckers.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I wish that there was a way to make it easier for that, right? That somewhere in Jacksonville that they really should do something. Maybe I'll reach out to someone and see how that's possible because that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, I know in DeLand, there's a local area where you can go in and you can donate stuff and they'll send it over to the Bahamas. I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but I know it's out there.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. Hold on, let me write that down. Because that would be good. Now, when it came to your hurricane supplies, what kind of food do you buy?
Bread, lunch meat. Yeah, that's about it. Snacks. Got fat right before the hurricane that never came. I went, shit. And of course, I ate all my snacks before the hurricane came.
Right.
Because so I don't know what this is. Why is it when a hurricane comes, it's like, oh, I get to eat whatever I want. It's like pregnancy. I'm pregnant.
Right.
I can have whatever I want. I don't care how fat I get because it's excusable. So a hurricane is like, oh, I know I don't want this or this or this because any other time. But today, fucking everything's going in the cart.
Right. So that's what my husband said yesterday. He was like, ugh, I feel like such crap from all the food we ate this weekend. And I was like, what do you mean? We barely, like, I didn't get home until midnight on Friday. And we went to a wedding on Saturday and then a Jaguar game on Sunday. What do you mean? We didn't eat that much food, actually. And he was like, well, what I really mean is all the hurricane snacks I ate.
Yeah.
And so that Ethan was like, well, Dad, it was ramen. And he was like, well, every single time I was bored, I ate.
You ate.
Because it was there.
It was there, and it was something to do.
Right.
And I'm just going to say, I love how we're getting a hurricane, and you up and went, peace out, honey, you have fun with the kids. Straight up.
I felt so bad.
No, you didn't.
No, I really did. Yeah, so Thursday, and so I left Friday. The hurricane was to hit originally Tuesday, right? It was a very slow-moving hurricane.
No, it was originally supposed to be here like Saturday or Sunday, and then they kept pushing it back. Then it was like, oh, it's going to be Monday, and then it was going to be Tuesday, and then it's going to be Wednesday. I was like, well, this motherfucker show up already? Because I'm going to have to go out and buy more supplies yet again and excuse my bad eating.
Well, so that's what happened to us during Irma, is that we had eaten all our bread before the actual hurricane came, because for our listeners that are not in a hurricane area, the way that this works is, and this is why people look at us like we're crazy on the outside of Florida and the eastern coast, because we make such a joke about it. But this hurricane hits maybe for a day, but it's something that we live with for 10 days, right? We see it coming. They start talking about it. They start preparing. They start making these forecasts. Where is it going to hit? Once that happens, so this was Thursday, no, I would say Tuesday of the week before, so almost a week before it's supposed to hit Jacksonville. My work and locally, people start preparing, right? So now it's all we're talking about is this hurricane. Are you buying supplies? Are you doing this? What are you doing? So then everybody goes out. Right. So then by Friday, it's coming towards the Bahamas. We know that's going to happen. It looks like it's going to be a direct hit for South Florida, which is then a concern for me because I have a lot of clients and colleagues in South Florida. And that's where my guilt started to come from, was I don't want to leave these people. I mean, I know that either way, my office would be, in quotations, closing, but just to leave my community while we were all going through something, it bothered me. So I asked Nate a few times, like, are you sure you don't want me to cancel? Because I was heading to Dallas for the weekend to see a client, visit my sister, go to a Backstreet Boys concert, and then from there to Vegas to spend some time with my best friend until the next week. So he was like, look, we've got this. We don't even know where it's truly going to go at this point. Just go. It might not even hit, and then you're going to be stuck sitting here. So I'm glad I didn't go. I mean, I'm glad I did go, because if not, I would have wasted.
You would have missed all that.
Right. So,
and the one thing I
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, the one thing that I hate about our hurricanes is the fucking hype.
Yeah.
It sends you into a freaking panic. Oh my God, is it going to hit here? Oh my God, is it going to hit here? You may be in Alabama, but you might want to start buying supplies anyways.
Right, because you never know.
You never know, but at the same time, there's so much hype, which is probably why we have to buy so much bad food for us to cope with all the anxiety.
Right.
I mean, the way the reporters report it, they should be handing out Xanax.
I know, right?
I'm like, guys, for so many, I mean, the hurricane was moving a mile an hour. A mile an hour. Seriously. Even I can walk a mile faster than that. So, and it was constant. Like, even the reporters were running out of things to say. And, everybody's sitting there staring at the TV going, oh my God, where's it going to do? What's it going to do? I don't know. And I'm like, the fuck are you people doing? Go read a book.
Yeah. But do any of your friends freak out? Like, any of your Facebook friends, I had one.
Not on this one.
Yeah. She's young.
I'm still waking up, sorry. No, I didn't have anybody who really freaked out. I had some friends on Beachside that basically had said, hey, this is my last reach out, blah, 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 blah. Hope everyone's being safe. But not you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Not a terrible panic.
I think the thing that people don't understand is we go through this every summer. Even if we don't have a major hurricane that summer, we go through this whole process every summer. And sometimes it's multiple times.
Oh, yes. Like what year was it that we had the 3 hurricanes back to back that hit Orlando? It was like in 2005 or 6.
I think it was 4. Are you talking about
Matthew, Charlie?
No, not Matthew. Matthew was 3 years ago. It was Charlie and Jean and Irene, I think, all in that same
Right. All
Yeah.
that same. That was a fucking insane season.
Yeah, that
Like
was,
football.
yeah, right. I mean, those ones all hit within 2 to 3 weeks. And
Mm-hmm.
that meant like my office was boarded up for 2 to 3 weeks, which was fun. We worked in a cave for all
Yay!
that. Yeah. And like for us, like our kids got, even for this one, even though it went right past Jacksonville, and I think they said we got a little bit of rain and that was it. It was, our normal afternoon thunderstorms were a lot worse, but our kids got 3 days off of school. My husband got 3 days off of school. It's like our winter storms,
It
everybody else
is.
gets snow days. We
Days
get,
we get hurricane days.
yeah, we get weather days. It's great. As long as, now that's not saying that the destructions that it brings is not god awful. However, most of us never experience that because when it actually hits, it's very isolated. So it's just, I think that this is the first time I've been away when something's happened. So every
Mm-hmm.
time somebody asked me in Texas or Nevada where I was from, the first thing they said was, "Oh my God, what about that hurricane?" I'm like, "Oh God,
Here we go again.
yeah, we're gonna be okay. Don't worry about us.
It's
We're
not a
just
big deal.
on lockdown. Yeah, we got it, and we'll be okay afterwards because we've
Right.
also been through this before. Maybe not like my generation. I mean, I didn't live through Andrew. However, I believe in myself and my community enough that we're gonna be okay."
You weren't down in Florida when Andrew hit, were you?
No, I've only lived here now for 17 years.
Okay.
So I didn't live here. I think Andrew was in the 90s. Let me see. Did you live here during then?
No, but my mom lives in Florida, so I might have actually. I don't
92
remember what month was it though. That's the big question.
August.
I could have been here through Andrew.
Yeah, it hit in August and it hit the Florida or Bahamas, Florida, and Louisiana in August of 1992. It was $27 billion
Wow.
in damages.
Yeah, because I was rather young in '92,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, my mom lived in Florida, so I would have been here on vacation during the summer break. So I may have been through it and didn't know it.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and not even and realized it, right? I mean,
Right. Because I remember there was a hurricane that came through, and we had to get the sandbags, and we had to put the mattresses up against the windows, and we had to fill the bathtubs up with water, and it was this whole big whole procedure of everything that had to get done. And mind you, I don't remember what it was for, but I just remember doing all of that stuff.
right.
So it could have been Andrew.
Yeah, yeah. Especially something of that magnitude and that type of preparation, I would assume that it probably was Andrew.
Right, because I can't imagine us putting up mattresses for no reason.
Right. And see, when I first moved down here and I was separated and divorced was when Charlie and all of those came through in '04. And so my
Right.
ex-boss was like, "Well, you guys just prepare for a hurricane or for a tornado." And I'm like, "What the fuck does that sound like? How do I know if a tornado's coming? It's dark outside." And he was like, "You just listen to a choo-choo train
Yeah.
and pull a mattress on
You're
top of you."
from Virginia. You should know this.
No, we didn't make. So this is the thing is that so I'm originally from Virginia Beach, and historically, from since I've moved down here, they've been hit harder than I've been hit in Jacksonville. They went through Irene, which completely flooded the streets, flooded the tunnels. My stepmom was without power for a week. I drove up there to help her. And again, like her community had generator plugs running from house to house. They were all eating dinner in the driveway. And like my stepmom had a gas stove in her kitchen. So she was cooking all the vegetables while the neighbor was grilling all the food. And that's just what you do after a hurricane, right?
Right.
You all help each other and start using your food as you can before it goes bad. But they've been hit more since I don't live there. Maybe I'm a hurricane repellent. I don't know.
Maybe. And that's why, well, no, because you left and we didn't get hit.
Right, yeah.
This time. But no, you've never been through a tornado up north?
No.
Okay. So I've been through one or two up in where I grew up, outside of the DC area. And that was the one that I was actually in a trailer at the time because we were camping. So my mom put me under one of those folded tables of the trailer. And it was rocking. And we had this big tree over it. We're like, oh, please, please, please do not fall on top of us.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And there was a couple times even at home, you know, we had really bad storms. And my mom was like, all right, if you hear a train. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, if you hear a train, this is where you go. And we had a special room inside the house under the stairs that actually was my playroom. You know, those little rooms on the...
Yeah.
Okay. That's where we had to go.
Okay. That's what my sister said she uses that space underneath the stairs for. For tornadoes, because they deal with that through Texas.
Right. So you hear a train, you go right there because it's the lowest point of the house, and it is also, there's no windows, so there's no glass. There's nothing to break through.
You know what I noticed in Texas that they had that we don't have is that almost every fence, and now my sister lives in a newer community, excuse me, about 4 years old maybe, but every single one of their wooden fences have metal poles into the concrete that their wooden fences are connected to. And she said that was for tornadoes.
Probably.
Why wouldn't we do that here? When, I mean, typically the first thing people lose during a hurricane is their damn fence.
Yeah,
doing that?
Because and the reason why is because a tornado does not bring a lot of water like a hurricane does. So if a hurricane's coming and it's saturating your fence and it pulls up that concrete block, because it's all nice and soft all around it, and the wind is strong enough to actually pick it up. Now you got a concrete block it's flying around in the air. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like a wrecking ball.
Yeah, like a wrecking ball.
Yeah. Now I'm picturing Miley Cyrus going through the air like like the fucking Wizard of Oz. Give it like a wrecking ball. Right, yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes more sense then. Yeah, with the saturation of the water. So that was the thing that I was trying to explain to people when they were talking about the storm and the winds. As I said, you know, it's not the wind that really gets us. I said, this is a slow-moving storm. We all live on the coast, and it's the flooding. It's the amount of water that is just going to
water.
Right. And I think, you know, that's the problem is really the water that causes a lot of this damage, at least in the U.S., because we have regulations of how things should be built. So unlike the Bahamas or the Caribbean, you know, they're building to build. And for homes where we have, you know, Cat 5 buildings and this and blah, 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 it's the water. The flooding truly gets us.
Exactly. So, you know, Florida, I don't know if you remember, like 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, not a lot of people lived in Florida. And the reason why was because the water index was so high. There wasn't all this extra land, right? So Florida has a lot of swamp land. And what they've done is they've built up on the swamp land because our water index dropped. And it's dropped. So now you've got this swampy land. They've added more dirt and whatever and put a foundation in it. And you've built on it.
It's global warming.
Ooh. I'm going
to kill me.
Well, you know what? I heard something and I don't know how true it is. It goes, because everyone's like, oh, global warming, the polar ice caps are going to melt, right? They're already fucking floating in the water. If you pour, if you pour, if you put ice in a glass and you
Uh-huh.
pour water into it, when the ice cubes melt, does your glass overflow?
It
No.
doesn't. Isn't that weird? Well, I
It,
guess because the weight is already there from the ice, right?
right, the same as the polar ice caps.
Right.
So if those polar ice caps melt, it's not going to flood.
Is that what people are worried about?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it's going to flood. That's
I know
part of
that's
it.
what the dinosaurs were worried about in that movie, The Land Before Time and Ice Age.
Yes.
This is how I connect myself to science is through Disney movies.
I love
But
it.
I didn't know that's what people were worried about now.
Oh, you know what? I watched this thing. They were showing clips all the way back to the 70s. Global warming, global warming. It's going to ruin us. It's going to ruin us every single year up until now. That's what, 40 years now? 40
Right.
years now they've been screaming global warming. Nothing's fucking happened.
Yeah, we'll have to jump. I shouldn't even have said the words, but we'll have to jump into it someday because Nate is 100% against global warming, and so he's talked to me some about it, and I agree. Like it fluctuates, right? The Earth temperatures go up and down. It's going to be
Right.
hotter. It's no different than our economy and marriages, for God's sakes, friendship, everything in life. It's up and down, and that's my opinion on global warming.
Okay. And what is Nate's opinion? He believes it's happening or?
No, 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 no. He did a
Okay.
huge paper in college about it. He fucking hates it. So sometimes I just mention it just to be annoying to him.
Nice.
I know.
So basically, you want to just piss your husband off.
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. He's so funny. He's so funny. So all right, we'll circle back to
Okay.
Hurricane Dorian, who, by the way, I kept calling Hurricane Doreen as
Dor-
well.
I
You didn't
wonder how our friend feels about that.
you didn't connect the two names? Very
No,
very common. Well, I didn't realize Dorian was a guy's name. Did
I
you?
didn't. No, I thought Dorian. All I did was think of Dorian the fish from Finding Nemo.
Oh yeah.
That was it.
I saw a meme that said something about men lie about sizes, so why should we uh, not think the same about Hurricane Dorian? Because they lie about the size of their wankers.
Yeah. Well,
So
he apparently this one didn't lie about the size of his.
I know. Except by the time it came to Jacksonville, it was only a 2, and at some point they said it was going to be what, a 4?
Right.
Because
Until
they
it was a.
ordered evacuations here,
I know. It's crazy.
and we're in Zone A. We're supposed to evacuate first, just because we're along the water.
Right. Did you
But
evacuate? But you didn't evacuate.
no, fuck no. It's a creek, man. It's a creek. We don't fucking
It's a
evacuate.
creek.
I
We
mean,
don't evacuate.
so now, granted, it does get access to, the port in the major river. However, during Irma, it flooded all the way to the base of where the hill is in our backyard. We had water all the way up to there. So the shed was underwater, the swing set was underwater, the neighbor's docks, you couldn't see them anymore. It actually
Right.
looked really cool. It didn't look like a creek anymore. It looked like a river. You could see at the height of the hurricane, you could see white caps rolling in. But our houses
Wow.
so elevated, we would have needed days more of water to fill it up enough to come above.
Right.
But just because we're on the water, that makes us zone A. The front of the neighborhood is like a zone C or D.
Well,
So
I guess because of how far it would have to
right. So
expand.
why? Yeah, we didn't leave.
No,
We
we
didn't.
don't leave either.
Yeah. I mean, where are we going to go? We're going to go somewhere.
You're gonna
And
come
then-
to the farm. That's where you're gonna go.
Well, one of my friends in South Florida went from here, and this was during Irma, went from South Florida to Gainesville. Well, guess what? it came this way. So then she had to leave and go back to South Florida. She spent 4 days on the road.
Jeez.
Who can, I mean, you can't, you have no idea where it's coming until it's too late.
Pretty much. That's why you just gotta prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone was telling me, it's like, oh, everyone in DeLand was going, oh, good thing you've got a basement. I'm like, yeah, until it floods. And then I'm fucked. And of course, that's my response to people being nice and positive.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, until it floods, and then where the fuck do I go then?
Yeah.
Because I can't go upstairs on the third floor because the Wicked Witch of the West is going to pick my ass up.
And suck you in.
Yeah. Little bitch.
Right. What about your mother-in-law suite? Do you think that would flood because of the pool?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's because it's not a large step right there into it. Thankfully, it's tile, so it's
is that Coolcrete?
Yeah.
Material, and it's got a drain right there, but it's not very effective, and it can only do so much.
Right.
Yeah, her place would flood quick.
Yeah, I need flood insurance, man. Even though I don't think, knock on wood, my house would flood, it's so cheap. It's $300 a year when you're in a preferred flood zone, and my house is actually in a preferred flood zone. My backyard isn't, but my house is. Every year I say, I'm just going to buy it.
Well, I always heard, now mind you, I don't know much about this, but I always heard that even if you buy flood insurance, it doesn't cover hurricane because it's an act of God. And, insurance companies like to tell you, oh, sorry, it was an act of God, can't cover it.
Yeah, no, that's not true. So what's not covered during an insurance claim when it comes to act of God is liability. Like, I can't hold you liable for something that the hurricane did. For example, when Nate lived in a rented house, his neighbors were brother and sisters, right? And he was renting the house from the sister who didn't talk to the brother. Well, the brother's fucking tree fell into Nate's backyard and broke their fence, the fence. So she called him and said, you're responsible, and tried to file a claim against his homeowner's policy. Well, his homeowner's policy said it's not our problem. It was an act of God. Now, if it fallen on his house, on his own home, it would have been covered under his own policy. But if it would have fallen on her house, the insurance would have said, nope, you file with your carrier. We take care of our own.
Got it.
Act of God. So what the guy did was went out and he cut the fucking tree right at the property line. That's how much he hated his sister. And just left the other part of the fucking tree in her yard. Yeah.
Wow.
They were old people too. I mean, they had decades of hate for one another. They were in their 60s.
Really?
They hated each other. It was pretty funny. But no, during, that act of God thing, that's just, for an insurance company, is they take care of their own during that time.
Okay.
So, like, my mom had flood damage during Matthew, I believe. Her entire house was flooded. Thankfully, if she didn't have flood insurance, because the water came from the outside in, her homeowner's policy would have denied it. Because flood is excluded on a homeowner's policy. And now, mind you, I don't know much about homeowners insurance because it's just not what I don't even know who my fucking carrier is. I know who my agent is, but I don't even know it. I just know this from past experiences with claims that people have had. So my mom had a claim. Her homeowners would have denied it because flood is excluded on a homeowner's, but she had flood insurance. So the flood insurance paid for everything that was damaged, to the house, to the property. The good thing about flood insurance is, and I do know this, is that they have very small deductibles, like $250, $500. But if it was wind damage to my mom's house, say like a tree fell on it and then the water came in, and she had to pay her hurricane deductible. My hurricane deductible is 5% of $250,000.
Holy shit.
That's a lot of money. So I'd rather have a flood and have flood insurance
Right.
than have to pay, like roof damage, because then that's a 5% deductible.
Oof.
So think about the homes down in South Florida that are, or $1 million or $500,000.
Right. They're taking out loans to.
Right. That's a pretty large deductible to, assume the responsibility for.
Right.
So
wow.
I need to buy flood insurance just in case it ever happens.
It's probably a smart thing to do.
Right. Especially when it's so cheap.
Yeah.
And for my mom, it was cheap because what happens is my mom doesn't live by the water. She lives in the middle of a neighborhood. But the draining system in the streets were so bad that even during a summer storm, her streets would flood. So she was smart and bought flood insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And during Irma or Matthew, it flooded her entire house.
Wow.
It was a mess.
I do like how Florida has, when you're in certain areas, they mandate you have flood insurance.
So that's a national thing, because
is it?
Yeah, flood insurance is a national program. It's regulated on a federal basis. So the flood zones are determined, and if you are in a flood zone and you have a mortgage, you are required to carry that insurance, which is great.
Yes, it is. That's absolutely great.
Right. Now the prices are different. Like I'm in a preferred flood zone, so it's $300. If I was in a higher rated flood zone, God only knows. I mean, a couple $1,000s a year.
Yeah, but that's still chunk change when you compare to what the damage could actually be.
100%. 100%. Yep. That's the thing about, well, I don't even want to talk about insurance, but that's the thing. Like there really is a benefit to it. Like my in-laws have had fires to their homes where they've lost their entire homes, which is a terrible thing to have to go through. But thank God they had insurance.
Yeah, it makes all the difference.
Right, which nobody likes to pay. Like I fucking hate paying it.
No, I hate paying insurance too. And our insurance, so when we bought this house, because it's 11 acres, so we're kind of considered a farm and we're very much out in the country. What happened was when we bought the house, they said, oh, the roof's got about a year or two, but not really. So we bought the house, we were good, knew we were going to have to replace the roof, right? Well, our insurance company dropped us.
Because of the age of the roof?
Because of the age of the roof, and we don't have a fire hydrant nearby.
Oh, yeah.
We do not have a fire hydrant nearby. I think the closest one is a mile away.
Yeah.
So we had to, and you can't use homeowners insurance like you use.
Right.
Right? I got to use country farming homeowners insurance.
Right, yeah.
It's a different world. So I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just bought this house. Insure it. It's not that complicated. They're like, no. They're like, no. And they wanted our rate to be really super high. So we had to negotiate and find people who would just cover us in general because of the way that we're set up. So that was a fun process. So needless to say, we ended up having to put a roof on our house to get homeowners insurance.
Yeah. I could see that happening because they want less than 20 years of age or 15 to 20 years of age. Yeah.
And the problem was we had just bought the house, so we required to have insurance by the mortgage company. So it's like, oh, fuck. So now we got to we were planning on doing it within the next year, but they were like, no, you got to do it right now or everything's gone.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big chunk to put on. I keep hoping, like, when our house is now 10 years old, that within the next 5 years, we get a little bit of hurricane damage. So that way my homeowner's insurance will pay for my new roof. Because 5% deductible is far more better than having to pay for the whole thing myself.
Yeah, it's not a pretty price, I can tell you that.
Our neighbor down the street got a new roof during Matthew, and I was like, man, those lucky bastards. And it was just shingles. It didn't even, like, a tree didn't fall on them.
Right?
It was shingles, but they were like, nope, you need a new roof. I was like,
need a new one.
I know.
You're like, damn it. I bet you were like, here, let me get up here and rip some shingles off, see if they'll take care of me now.
Right.
Look, I got hurricane damage.
Right. I'd be like, we saw your ass up there.
And they're like, yeah, that's called fraud. Don't do that.
Right, right.
You'll go to jail.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So, so yeah, the hurricane, I think today's the first day back at work and school and everything else, right? Oh no, the kids went back on Friday, which was, what a waste. I mean,
hey, look, it's better than them having to extend at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's true. And they do, the school puts in these hurricane days, so they'll be able to make up those 3 days. And I think during Irma, they missed almost 7 days, and the school made them make up 3 and then just said, fuck it.
There you go.
Which was nice.
That's nice.
So,
I like it when the school says, fuck it.
Yeah, right? So, yeah, while I was in Texas, everybody asked me about the hurricane. Whenever they asked me where I was from or if I wasn't from around these parts, I guess I stick out a little bit.
Just a little. You're not your typical Texan girl.
Maybe I need bigger hair. Bigger hair.
Well, your hair can be pretty big, but if you wanted it to be.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, something that did happen while I was there was that Saturday night? It had to be Saturday night. Was the mass shooting in Texas. Did you see that?
I didn't. Do you not remember what was going on in Florida?
Right. So
everything was about this freaking hurricane, and I don't watch the news to begin with.
Right.
So if I was to have heard anything, I didn't hear about it.
So for one evening, and then half the day on Sunday, the top article on Fox News was something other than Dorian. Other than that, so this part is kind of disturbing to me, is that either the hurricane was so major that it deserved the national attention, or we've become so numb to these mass shootings that it was only worth a day of news coverage to be the top news. So what happened this time was an officer was pulling somebody over for making a wrong turn in Texas. So this happened in Texas. Was something about his blinker, went to pull him over, and the guy started shooting. He had an automatic weapon in his car. He started shooting at other people, took off, started driving, somehow shot somebody in a mail truck, took the mail truck. And so now there's reports of multiple shooters, multiple vehicles, because it doesn't make sense. They don't know what's going on. They've got people, dying here. And he's shooting out his window, Tabby, as he's driving, which has never happened before, right? I mean, you're trying to prepare, and how do we make a difference? How do we stop these mass shootings? Can we do this? Can we do that? How do you fucking stop that? I mean, eventually they stopped him outside of a movie theater, I think, and they had to ram into his car, which we found this out as my sister-in-law is coming home from her 12-hour shift as a police officer in Texas. Right. And I didn't talk very much while my sister and her wife are discussing this, because in my mind, I'm thinking, holy fuck, like your wife has to get up the next morning and go back to work. There were 3 officers shot, and at this point we didn't understand why it had happened. So then eventually it said that the guy had been fired from his job the day before. Mm-hmm. And you just don't drive around with that kind of weapon. You know, Dion's not driving around with an AR in the back of his car, right? So,
No.
right. So they
Think
think,
that's illegal.
right. So they think, you know, that he could have baited the officer to pull him over so that he could start this mass shooting. So then that scares the fuck out of me for my sister-in-law.
Right.
Now, it was crazy to me that they didn't even think about that. Instead, in her mind, she starts just talking out loud of, okay, well, how would I deal with this? What are, first of all, the rules and regulations on police officers? And I was like, it's crazy to me that they even have to think about that. That they have to be,
they do.
Yeah, that they have to be concerned if, okay, well, if I do this to protect us, am I going to get in trouble? Am I going to, where we just protect us, but they have to worry about that, which is crazy because that's what we've done to them, right? Is, well, did you cross the line? Did you do this? Well, yeah, you saved somebody, but did you? She didn't even think about herself.
Okay.
And my sister never once worried about her as she was leaving the next morning to go. And eventually I asked my sister, I said, does it, because they're still talking to me about this fucking hurricane. And I was like, you're not scared? So, you know, both of them are ex-military. Both of them were police officers in the military. Both of them have done, you know, 4+ tours in Iraq and Afghanistan with combat. So they're trained to behave differently.
Yes, exactly, as they're supposed to.
Right.
Because if they were to react as emotionally as you and I would, they would probably shoot the wrong person.
Right.
So to them, this is normal. To them, this is, I'm going to take this opportunity. This happened. I'm going to use that as a training to figure out how I would handle to, you know, what would I do in that situation, right?
Right.
Because the odds are she could possibly be in that situation.
Yeah.
So instead of freaking out about it,
right.
What do I do? And let me be really, really honest. Both your sisters were more in danger when they were in combat over in Iraq than they are chasing some dumbass motherfucker shooting out the side of his car.
See, I don't know if that's true anymore, Tabby. I don't believe that. I feel like all of us are probably in more danger now than we've ever been because there's no bad guy anymore.
But you know what the funny part is, though, Sabrina? We're living in the safest time in our lives, in our history. It's safer today than it's ever been. But
See,
you
I would
wouldn't
agree with that, yeah.
Right, because you hear the media. The media is constantly negative. This happened, this happened, this happened, and it is constant bad shit, and they repeat it over and over and over. But when you take the numbers and look at them from a statistical point of view, it's not as fucking bad as you think it is. You know?
Yeah, I think I'd still disagree because there's the difference being in the 80s or 90s, right, when there were we had drug issues and gang issues and this kind of violence and that, those were all targeted towards people that were engaged in crime. Where now there's no, you can be shopping at Walmart, you can be sitting in a movie theater, and it's not just it's not a targeted incident, it is mass killing, which is a lot different than before where it was, well, the bad guys are killing the bad guys and then maybe there's a few casualties in between. Now there's no formula to it at all.
And let me tell you who I blame for this. I blame A, the person who's shooting, and B, the media. We what's the word I'm looking for? We sensationalize.
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 Yeah, there you go.
The killer. Okay? It is a thing. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got these people who are, and I'm not going to say mentally ill because not all of them are mentally ill. Some of them were just some punk ass kid that really needed his ass whooped.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're all safe space, so we can't discipline our children because we're going to fucking hurt their feelings. Oh, now look.
Right.
There's no respect.
Mm-hmm.
None. And it's so frustrating. Then you get on the TV and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And it's about the person who did it. So even if they died or killed themselves in it, they're centralized. So now the other person who's in a basement watching it going, huh, well, maybe, I think I might want to do that. So you
Mm-hmm.
get another one, and then you get another one, and then you get another one, and you get another one until it becomes the norm, which is what it's becoming.
So how do you think that we fix what's going on? What's the solution?
We discipline our fucking children and stop being a bunch of pussies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sick and tired of, oh, we shouldn't yell at our kids and you need to sit down and talk to them. No, children are looking for boundaries and
Mm-hmm.
guidelines. If you are a parent, you are not your child's friend.
Mm-hmm.
No, not at all. Because if you are going to be your child's friend, you better prepare yourself to raise your grandchildren.
And do you think that those parents should then be held responsible for, say, for example, the shooting in Parkland, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those weapons are probably belong to the parents, right? So then should the parents be blamed and held accountable
Was
and
the Parkland
prosecuted?
shooter underage?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you think so?
should be. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I think, in my opinion, so school shootings are either current students. There's been the one up in Connecticut, or what was that, Sandy Hook?
Yep.
That was an adult that did
Mm-hmm.
that. Most of the other ones throughout the state have been, or throughout the United States, have been adult men.
Yes.
They haven't been children.
Right. So, you know, and they're making a conscious decision to do these things. But
So
but look at the age of them too. I mean, they're what would you say the average age is
I mean,
of
I would say
a
most of
mass shooter?
I would say most of them are middle aged, in
Okay.
their late 30s, early 40s. I mean, some of them, the club in Orlando, the
Mm-hmm.
guys in Boston, those guys were in their 20s. So this is the thing. I don't think there's,
I don't
well,
think there's one
right.
type.
I don't think there is. I don't think that it's children. I don't think it's, I mean, most of them are white men, which is unfortunate. It's true though.
Well,
I mean,
this
I'm
last
not
one wasn't white. This last one in Texas, wasn't he illegal? Wasn't he a Mexican?
no, I don't think so. I
No,
don't. I don't think so. Look that up because I never saw his picture. Because
because I think I saw his.
because I even said something to my sisters that what if he was an illegal immigrant? That's gonna uh, put some shit on that wall out there. See, I don't even know the guy's name. I know it was in Odessa. Let's see.
See
But
what
I
can we?
remember, like, when the University of, when it happened at Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I remember sitting at my office with our coworkers trying to figure out, all right, well, let's try to profile what the guy looks like. And we immediately thought, white male, young, everybody's going to say that he was a loner, he was quiet, he was
Right.
a very sweet boy, though, but he was a little weird. Well, it ended up being an Asian kid. Uh, Seth Aaron Ator.
Seth. Whoa.
So Seth
For the Texas one?
Yeah, Ator.
It's funny because New York Times won't tell me his damn name.
So it says.
Oh, Sepultura used. Okay.
Yeah. And that he had been through.
So
He bought the gun through
illegally.
through a private seller after being prohibited by federal law from possessing a firearm because it had been diagnosed with a mental illness. So he couldn't buy it
Legally.
or not.
So what?
Well, no, he bought it legally because private sellers are not required to run a background check.
Okay, so the National Review is saying the U.S. Bureau of Tobacco, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm and Explosive is currently investigating a man who they believe illegally manufactured and sold the AR-15 style rifle. So if he illegally manufactured it, it's an illegal gun.
Yeah, this article says he bought it.
Oh, he may have purchased it, but it was an illegal weapon.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And see, this is the other part of it. Like, so, everybody's screaming, we need more gun laws and da da da. We don't need more gun laws. We need better ones. So, like this one, for instance, he's considered mentally ill. He was diagnosed legally through a federal, right? He's not allowed to buy a gun. The law worked. The loophole is a private matter, right? So unless you're going to ban all private sales, which you can't do, what are you gonna? You know what I mean? What are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is where the problem comes up. Is that when something like this happens, you have the right and left saying, "Well, we need we need new laws to protect us," and then the other side that are gripping onto their guns and their current rights are saying, no, don't touch our laws. We don't want you to touch our guns. Where really what they need to do is sit down and say, just like you said, call it what you want. New laws, better laws. What we need is something to change, because it's no longer safe to go to a fucking store.
I agree. And I'm not disagreeing with you. But what I am saying is, as the person who's gripping onto my gun laws, right? Okay. Is what I hear from the other side is, to hell with the laws, let's just ban the guns.
Right.
And I'm going, no. And that's where the biggest problem is. We need to come together and go, okay, let's figure out something. One of my biggest things is the federal government should not be running the background checks. Your local PD should be running background checks. They know about domestic abuse. They know how many times they've had to be called out to the house. They know if this person is unstable. They know their community better than the feds do, because the feds aren't meant to, you know what I mean? Aren't meant to know what's going on. I think it should be a two-way process, in case you've done something in another state, but the states can also talk to each other.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And share the information and keep the fucking feds out of it, because the feds, to be honest with you, can't do their damn job. Have you ever tried to get a driver's license at the DMV? They don't run anything,
Right. Yeah, I do agree with that there needs to be, because whenever this happens, there's always, past history for most of these people. Unless we're talking about a young kid that hasn't had time to fuck up yet, most of them have some type of arrest record, red flags, and even the kid in Parkland had red flags. And I do think it is a mental health issue, because even those children, in my personal opinion, it's it's more than just the parents. So there's a great documentary about the two parents from Columbine. And she actually, one of the moms did a TED Talk because she's blamed for it, for being a bad mom, because her son made a conscious decision to go and do something. And up until then, she believed that she was being a good mother. And sometimes it's, what about, and I'm going to put it back on their peers. So these kids, a lot of times, are being bullied and attacked by other kids. You just don't, unless you're...
I gotcha, but being bullied and attacked is a part of growing up,
it's different now. It's 100% different now than when we were 20 years ago, and I was a bully. So I'm not coming from somebody that's saying that. I can tell you that it was verbal, right? It was me and my friends talking about somebody and talking to the guys about that somebody. Let's call them a slut. Let's do this. Let's call them fat. However, now it's because of our cell phones and social media, it's 10 times worse for these kids. They are bullied. It's cyberly. Their pictures are taken. They're fat shamed. They're everything.
And here's what I say.
Here's the accountability for those kids' parents that are doing that, saying, hey, stop teaching your kids to be fucking assholes.
Oh, I agree 110%. So let me give you an example. My nephew, we had a situation at a school where the kid literally said to my nephew, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Threatened to kill this kid. Okay? So he comes home and he tells us about it. And we're like, we tell him, ignore it. I don't want you to react. Until I said, he touches you. Now, the moment he touches you, all bets are off and I expect you to whoop his ass. Right. That's what I told him. He was 11 at the time. I'm like, don't listen to this. We will take care of that on our end. I said, but again, if he touches you, kick his ass. And I'm not kidding. Right. And I said, I don't care what happens. I don't care if you get expelled from school. We've got your back on this.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And see, but this is the thing, though. Most of those kids have never been hit in their life. It's not that they're being physically abused. They are being emotionally abused. And
I had a child tell him they were going to scalp his head.
Right.
Scalp his head.
It's not even, so that's like the threat of physical abuse, right? Like Ethan had these kids that told him, because Ethan was one of the first kids to get a cell phone in school because he's a tech guy, right? I mean, it's what he does. And he had this really cool Sony phone that you could play games and all this shit with it, like slid open. And these kids would walk behind him on the way home from school, and they weren't threatening to beat him up. I mean, that was some of the shit that they would say, and they'd walk right on him but not touch him. But the things that they were saying to him is, you're not good enough. The only thing good about you is your phone. And so it wasn't, I'm going to beat you up. It's, you have no fucking worth. You are worthless.
I went through the same shit.
Yeah.
I went through the exact same shit. Kids are fucking brutal, and they are mean. And you want to know what? Let me tell you what happened. You know, this kid kept going on, and he started, like, taking the ball and, like, accidentally hitting Mason with it. Mason said, you do it another time, I'm gonna hit you. So the kid did it again. Well, because we had put Mason in karate, he ended up roundhouse kicking this kid.
Good for him.
And the teacher didn't, and the kid doesn't bother him anymore. Ever. Does not bother him. He ended up going, to school. The teacher found out about it later and went, well, I guess you shouldn't have been bothering him.
Right.
Said, too bad. The teacher took his side. Do you know what I mean? So, and I mean, I'm all about the kids standing up. And see, this is the other thing that I don't like about what school they used to do. if two kids get in a fight, they both get
They
expelled.
still do. They still do. If
And I find that bullshit.
right.
If you will not punish my child for defending themselves.
Right.
That's another part of it. We're teaching our kids to be fearmongers. I can't defend myself because I'm going to get in trouble. I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm going to get in trouble. Fuck that.
Right. So look, I 100% agree. My dad raised me that I never took the first swing, that I would never get in trouble if I was defending myself.
Right.
However, there were ways around that, and sometimes I might have had my sister.
Bully.
I had my sister push somebody into me, so technically they hit me first, and then I wouldn't get in trouble. But
see,
so I'm not saying, but what I'm going to say about, but.
And I just want to tell you what, if I had done that, what you had done, my mom still would have whooped my ass.
Well, my dad didn't know.
Oh, no, my mother would have found out. You know, my mom.
No. You know, thankfully, this even happened on the corner of my house because that was another rule. As my dad said, you know, it had to be on our property because that's the thing, right? So you have a choice. If somebody was bullying me at the bus stop and I got in a fight, and then at this point, my bus stop was across the street. If I got into a fight at my bus stop, I would have gotten in trouble because I had a choice to walk away into my house. And that's why the school is saying to these other kids of both people get in trouble, because you do have a choice to walk away, right? When you're standing in a circle, you don't think so? 100% now.
Because the moment they touch you, they hit you, you no longer have a choice. You are now in a flight or fight mode, and I am sorry, you have a right to defend yourself.
I'm not saying you don't have a right, but you just called it flight or fight. So you do have the choice to go.
I don't agree. I gotcha, but I don't agree with it. If somebody hits me, are you going to let someone, I know you.
No, I'm not saying I would. And I'm not saying that I tell my kids to do that. 100%. I would tell my kid to hit somebody. Ethan got in trouble. He got suspended from school because some kid, Ethan didn't get in trouble because my kid chose not to hit him. So Ethan was going back and forth with some kid in middle school. They were making fun of each other. And Ethan, the kid said something that was like sweet towards him, or Ethan turned it around like, ooh, so you like me? Which was insinuating that the kid was gay, right? So the kid hit Ethan and shoved him into the wall and busted open his eyebrow that required 3 stitches. So I get a phone call that my kid's got to go to the ER, that he needs stitches. And so when I asked what happened, and he told me, and I was like, well, did you fucking hit him?
Right.
And he said, no, I didn't. Why not? Because now Nate and I are like, listen, you look like a fucking punk. You've got gas in your eye. You had every right to hit that guy. And Ethan said, I deserved it. He said, we were kidding around, and I pushed him too far. What I said was not right, and the kid just reacted. And he said, and Mama, he's my friend. And he said, and we're cool. And the dad called me that night and was like, I'm so sorry. And the boys apologized to each other, and that was it. Okay. I don't have that self-control. If somebody pushed me in a wall, I'm coming up swinging.
Right. And and here's the other thing. Ethan may or may have not crossed that line, but the kid started it by making that comment. You know what I mean?
Well, no, they both were going back and forth. And so Ethan realized that he crossed the line with the banter and hit somewhere that was sensitive, and he shouldn't have done it. And there was a consequence for it.
No, but at the same time, the kid didn't have to react that way.
No, he didn't. You're right. The kid could have just walked away as easily as Ethan did after he got hit. But what I'm saying is that there are choices, and some people are strong enough to make that choice. I am not. I would have fought. I probably still would have gone back the next day and still hit him just so I didn't look like a punk. But that's I got a lot of fucking ego, right?
Right.
Now, that doesn't also make Ethan above that. I remember a Halloween party in that same era of middle school, excuse me, where this kid was making fun of him and was doing something, and Ethan picked up a fucking chair and swung it at him. So he's not above reacting.
Okay.
And defending himself, but in that moment where he's fucking bleeding, I could not believe that he had the strength to be like, we're cool, that was my fault.
And maybe they have some kind of understanding between the two of them because they were friends.
Superpowers, because I couldn't do it.
Right. But you know, I think when you and I think of these bully situations, we don't think of situations like that because they were bantering. They're friends. Right. They banter all the time, and it got out of hand.
And I'll tell you what, I called the school on Ethan's behalf and told the principal, or asked the principal, not to suspend the kid.
Okay.
Because to Ethan, it was not a big deal. It was something that happened. It was boys being boys. The kid did not mean to split open his...
I hate that phrase. I fucking hate that phrase.
Well, boys friends being friends. It was friends being friends, whatever we want to call it. But it was just two guys, two girls bantering back, and one of them lost their temper, and it was still his friend. And so I called the school and said, look, they're good.
Yep. Okay.
And it was a misunderstanding, and both boys have talked, and both parents have talked. And I told the parent as well, like, we're good.
Yeah. Well, if everybody's good...
Right. So, but his school does have that rule that if Ethan would have swung back, they both would have been suspended.
That's crazy.
It is crazy because I'm not the one that will walk away. If somebody hits me, I'm going in.
But again, that teaches our children that you don't have a right to defend yourself. So when he grows up...
I don't think that. I think there's more power. That's why I refer to it as a superpower. It takes less power to react and just go into this fight mode than it does to say, you know what? It takes two people to fight.
I agree. But if somebody's... Now, let's take Ethan... Now, let's not think about Ethan's situation, right? Let's think about it in a situation where you're out and this guy comes up to you and fucking pushes you into a wall and starts beating the shit out of you. What are you going to do? You going to sit there and let him beat you because it's easy?
That's different, right? If somebody is actively hitting me and like against the wall, I'm going to start swinging and defend myself. Now, we were in a situation in Savannah where our friend got into a fight, and I could have jumped right in, and instead I just held the other girl against the wall. Where old school Sabrina might have gotten into a fight because, look, she swung on our friend first. And now we have the right to defend her. But I'm also older, and I'm not getting in a fucking fight with somebody. You're not hitting this shit.
You're not going to mess up this prettiness, right?
Hey, and I get more upset because of who I used to be and the fact that I did fight people and I was mean and I was aggressive. It makes me upset to get like that now. I don't like it. When somebody takes my power and the ability for me to lose my cool away from me, I get very upset with myself. And there is more power, in my opinion, of saying, like, look, you look fucking crazy. I'm going to walk away. You can fight with yourself. And that's what that girl looked insane. As I'm just holding her against the wall, and the police are kind of walking up.
Mind you, your other friend is over there throwing punches.
She sure did. She jumped over me and fucking punched her in the head, which I'm lucky she didn't hit me either.
Probably.
But, you know,
but we know she's got good aim, so we've seen her fight before.
Thank God. So, but, you know, that was her right to defend herself, where I could have, and I probably would have back in the day, just jumped in and started fighting her.
Right.
But I'm not going to jail for that shit. And that's what happens when there's two people fighting, right? Now they don't know who's right, who's wrong, who did what. Oh.
Uh-oh.
So it's, yeah, I think, I don't know. It's been a long, long time since I've been in a position where somebody actually hit me. And I'll just keep talking while you fix your microphone.
It's a good idea.
and tested my true ability to walk away.
Right. Well, I
Now,
think it's also a difference in age too, right? So we don't put ourselves in situations where it happens more. You know
well,
what I
not
mean?
just age, but I've been through therapy,
That's good. You need a
right?
therapist.
Because I had to unlearn what I was taught. You know, I was physically abused as a kid. I was verbally abused as a kid. You learn to do the same thing to protect yourself. I'm gonna get you before you fucking get me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm gonna hurt you before I let you hurt me. And so then it takes years to undo that. I think what's
Yeah.
happened is, and this is just my thought when it comes to high school shootings, when it's these other kids. Now, granted, some people are just fucked up. Some people are just mentally fucked up, but there's another documentary on Netflix about a lot of these kids that have killed themselves because of online bullying. And so it's different now, the way that these kids are going in and how permanent it feels to them, how permanent it feels to have something written on Twitter, where before I could write a note from somebody and it's lost. But now 700 people from school are seeing it within 2 minutes that so and so is a slut and she did this. And that hurts people.
It does. And you know what? It's no, I hate to break it to you, but the communication um mode type is changed.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's she's a slut on Twitter and all the kids from school
Right.
sees it. But in our day, she's a slut. They just fucking said it. From
Right.
person to person to person to person. But in the end, everybody fucking heard it.
Right.
And you still walked into school the next day and you saw all the same eyes judging you and all of that. None of that has changed. And you know what? The really bad part about all of this is that we live in a society where it's like, it's done here on this cell phone, right? Well, guess what? Turn the fucking thing off.
Yeah, I mean,
Disconnect yourself. You have a choice. You do not have to be on Twitter. You do not have to be on social media. You don't have to be on any of those things. You can keep this phone to use it what it's for. You need to make phone calls?
right.
That's it. Text
Right.
people? That's it. The rest of it, fucking turn it off. And that's part of the parenting. And I know it's
Right.
a new thing, but look, fucking turn that shit off.
Well, it's not a
Take
new
your
thing
phones
either, right?
away from your kids.
Right. It's not a new thing. And that's where, going back to what you said before about disciplining your kids, this is where I would agree with you, is where in disciplining your kids from the bully side
Mm-hmm.
is there was Ethan just turned 18, so he's just received. I no longer go on his Instagram. I no longer, but until then, up until a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
I still read all of that shit. I
Yes.
pay for the cell phone bill. I pay for his phone. I have full access to it. You can have a password on it, but I'm going to have that password too. And
Right.
whenever I feel like it, I'm going to read it. And I did this entire time. I would read it and
Mm-hmm.
keep up with it and ask him about certain things. What does this mean? What's going on here? What's so and so thinking? Especially when it came to like his friends, they'd always post these, like, we call them vague booking. You know, that they're going through things. Well, oh, well, what is your friend going through? Have you guys talked about it? Well, that's fucked up. You should tell that kid that that's, don't do that. Or like one time I saw they were in a group chat with a couple girls and they were saying some fucked up stuff about one of the girls. And I jumped his ass. And he wasn't saying it, but I said, you're a part of this conversation. And
Yep.
we knew the girl's grandfather. And I said, if so and so finds out, he's gonna beat your ass. And I'm gonna let him.
Yep.
If you didn't step up and tell these other boys to fucking cut it out or defend this girl, it's not okay.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
because you guys were able, or these other guys were able to get her to start agreeing with him. You're right. I am this. I am that. I was like, you guys are fucking terrible.
Right. Yeah.
And so I sent it to one of the kids' moms
And
and
what
said,
did you do?
Well, she took care of it.
Right.
But, she didn't know.
Exactly.
She wasn't reading and doing, but and she didn't know about this. This was when Skype, not Skype,
No, it can't be
no,
MySpace.
Snapchat first came out.
It tells you how old I am.
Right. So I sent it to her and said, hey, look, I just want you to know, because I have a sense of responsibility. Now that I know, if I bite my tongue and that girl did something to herself, that's on me. If I didn't say anything to her or her parents, or I knew her grandmother. So I reached out to her grandmother and said, hey, look, this is what I saw. This is who's involved. Take care.
Yeah.
So I do agree where there's this responsibility for parents to pick up their phones and look at it and hold your kids accountable for that shit.
Right. Exactly. You don't just get to go, oh, here's a phone, you do what you want, and I don't have to pay attention to you, what you're doing. That's not how it works. You still got to know what the hell your kid is doing. Back in my day, when I started driving, when I was driving to or from school or anywhere that I was supposed to be, my mom would sneak and go to the place that I was supposed to be at to make sure I got there like I was supposed to and didn't go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's not about the phones.
Right.
It's not about the method. It's about the sneaking and keeping up with your kids. You can't have these fucking blinders on.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You got to be aware, just like you are. You're completely aware. You have these real adult conversations with, Ethan, and he comes to you with things that most kids don't come to their parents, because the parents are all like, do you know what I mean, about little things, but you need to open up and talk to your kids, but still maintain that, hey, I'm your parent, I'm not your friend.
Right. But I also think, there has to be a change in the way that we're raising our kids there's that old saying of snitches get stitches. And I can remember there's, friends of ours down in South Florida talking about their kids and how they used to say the same thing. And now it's different. Now we're saying, if you see something, say something.
Right.
Put yourself in the middle. It's okay to say this is not okay. It's okay to go to a teacher and say this is happening. Mm-hmm. It's okay to go to that kid and say, I know this is happening. What can we do to stop it? Where before we would say, mind your own fucking business, stay in your lane.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, so these mass shootings, it's more to me than just gun control, which I think there's always room for improvement somewhere. New law, change of law, whatever. There's always room for improvement somewhere. Mental health is definitely a huge issue. Bullying is definitely a huge issue. There's such a huge stigma when it comes to the fact that somebody goes to see a therapist, goes for help, that needs help. We call him, that guy's just fucking crazy. No, maybe that guy needs some help.
Right. And I gotcha. Going to therapy there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong. We all need help. Everybody in this world needs some form of help in some way or another. Nobody is perfect.
Right.
No one. Everybody's been through shit. Everybody has their own story. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own needs. Certain people are stronger on certain topics than other people are.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't.
Well, I think that's what happens, is that people think that asking for help, especially when, and I'm talking about the mass shootings on the high school side, is that they don't want to appear weak, and they don't want to ask for help, and they don't want to admit to what's happening to them, right? Because the things that are happening are embarrassing. And I wish I could remember the name of that documentary on Netflix. It's fucking great. I mean, the girl had to move. Her and her mother decided it was better just to fucking move.
That's crazy.
But
insane. Then again, where are the other parents?
Right.
So, And I get kids are mean and kids are fucking horrible, you know, because they're not full grown adults. Their brains are not fully developed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're kind of trying to figure shit out and they don't do it very well.
No.
I
No.
mean, think about you back when you were a kid, right? You clearly say you're a bully. And why did you be a bully? Because it made you feel good. You felt
Right.
some satisfaction because you were the top. Because biologically, we're all ranking for a position.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Even in the corporate world, we're all ranking for some type of position.
Right. Yeah.
So what difference is it in the school?
Right. Well, that's a. I don't. I don't know what the solution is. I think that, when it comes to high school shootings and school shootings, and this one in Texas was not at a school.
Right.
It was somebody that got fired, which I just can't even fucking imagine. It's insane, but it's not the first time it's happened, right? Because back in the 90s or early 2000s, it was a post office worker that got fired.
You'll go postal.
That's right, yeah.
That's the biggest joke. They'll go postal. Watch out, they'll go postal. So it was way before the 90s.
Was it?
Yeah, because I remember, well, maybe early 90s.
I think it was in the 90s, yeah. Do you know when the first mass shooting in the U.S. was?
Where?
Well, it was in California, but it was an elementary school shooting.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 16-year-old girl. And there's a British rock band that came out with a song that's called I Hate Mondays.
Okay.
So that's when she was arrested and asked why she did it. That was her response. Well, because I hate
Mondays.
But what had happened was that they said, now they haven't completely figured out why she did it. Now, obviously, she's fucked up in the head. She was living in a family home with just her father, with one mattress in the middle of the living room floor and bottles of liquor everywhere and illegal drugs. Now, at the time of her arrest, she didn't say that she was being molested. She didn't say she was being raped. She didn't say anything about that. She just said she hated fucking Mondays. Her father had bought her a gun and 500 rounds for Christmas, and the school just happened to be outside of her bedroom window. So she said it was a good opportunity.
And when was this?
In the late 70s or early 80s. I actually heard it on a podcast Saturday morning before the Texas shooting. When I went to take a nap, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about it. So that's where that song. So now that she's in jail, and she's still alive, and she, obviously she's going in front of the parole board. Now she's saying that there were things going on at the home. There was, which, I mean, there probably was. It's not okay for one mattress with your father in the house.
Right. And here's the slippery slope. Here's the slippery slope. So she comes out and she tells her sad story. And I get it, and it's sad and it's fucked up. But now you can have sympathy for the murderer instead of for the victims.
Well, other than that... Do you
see what I mean?
Yeah, but other than that is that you can't believe her.
You can't believe her.
You can't believe her story now, because now is it just the story of a desperate woman trying to get out of jail? Was her story true back then that she just didn't fucking like Mondays and she was a fucked up person and saw it as an opportunity? That's what she called it. It was a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe she was just fucking mentally ill, but now that she's been in jail for 3 decades, is she like, ooh, but what if I say this? So now,
or maybe she's going, well, look at what I started.
Right.
Think about it. She started it, didn't she?
No, I wouldn't say so. I would say that most people don't even know about that. When I heard about it on that podcast, I was like, what the fuck? First of all, I've never even heard that song, I Hate Mondays.
Right.
Never heard of the English rock band. So I didn't know that that was the first U.S. mass shooting.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because I bet you I don't even know if it was like big news back then, and it probably wasn't because they didn't sensualize. I cannot say that word to save my fucking life.
I'm gonna attempt it. Sensualize?
Yes, sensualize.
Sensualize. It's the L.
They didn't sensualize her.
Right.
They didn't put her all over the fucking media.
Right. I think
They
that.
didn't go, oh my God, it's so scary to send your kids to school now. Do you know? And there's such a difference in the media between now and then. Now you hear everything about everything, and you're like, oh, but you know, back then you heard your local news in your local community. You're like, okay, but it was like it happens. Bad stuff happens. We cannot stop bad stuff from happening. There's always going to be something bad happening.
I agree, but we can take steps to try to avoid them. If not, then we're just saying, fuck it. Let's just roll the dice. Hope I can make it to Walmart today without being killed.
I gotcha, but I'm also going to throw this one out here just to be a little devil's advocate.
Yeah.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
It's true, but at least the
intensity could be making it worse.
I can't imagine that it could make it worse.
I don't know.
Even so, let's think about the first mass shooting was late 70s, early 80s. Columbine wasn't until the late 90s, maybe?
Yeah, so how many years in between? Nobody knew about the 70s.
20 decades or 2 decades.
Here's
Columbine. Let's see. Columbine was in 1999.
I don't know. Are you Googling it?
Yeah, it was in 1999.
Although 1975 minus 1999, it was 24 years.
Yeah.
24 years. So in this, because I just gave it 1975 to go right in the middle, right?
Right.
So 24 years in between. What has changed? Because I can tell you there was a time in our history at schools, our children used to bring guns to school. They'd leave them in their truck. They'd bring guns. Children knew how to use their guns. They knew how to respect their guns. They also knew how to respect a human life.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that anymore.
So I can tell you, though, historically, if I want to put it on mental health, what has changed is that throughout the 80s, the U.S. government started emptying out mental health facilities and releasing those people into the streets and saying, hey, we're not going to do this. It's illegal to hold these people captive. Let's just let them go.
I agree, because it also used to be at a time in your town, if you were mentally ill and they knew you were mentally ill, the police came and took you and you went away.
Right.
That was it. And you know what? That's what should be happening.
Right.
I hate to say it. And look, fuck everybody's feelings. But if you're not able to be productive in society without being put on a shit ton of fucking psychotic medicines, you shouldn't be here.
No, I agree.
Because you wouldn't survive in nature.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, that's why I truly believe that mass shootings are more connected, unless it's an act of terrorism, it's more connected to mental health than it is gun control. That there is such a negative connection to our feelings that people don't talk about it and they don't seek help for it. And it's easier for everybody else just to look the other way. There's hardly ever been a time where somebody said, oh man, that guy was totally fucking normal. We never saw that coming. Normally they say,
well, now that you mention it.
Right.
And, and the other part of this is we have created a society that is scared of guns.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to be scared of guns. You're supposed to respect the gun and
Right.
know how to use it. And you
Mm-hmm.
respect people's lives.
Right.
We don't have that anymore. We don't have the respect. We don't have the respect from kids to kids.
Right. Yeah.
And why do those kids not have the respect? Oh, you mean because the kids aren't getting the discipline they need at home because we're now not allowed to spank children? I remember, I'm going to tell you a story, and this was when my sister was younger, so it was, I want to say early mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
She got a spanking, right? Because, my mom doesn't put up with any kind of bullshit.
Right.
My sister got a spanking. Do you know what she did?
What?
She went and grabbed, well, this was before she was going to get the spanking. She went and grabbed this calendar that says, call us 1-800. You
Hey.
there?
Yeah. So your sister grabbed a pen and wrote.
No, my sister, okay, so my sister was about to get a spanking,
Uh-huh.
right? She was younger. And before she got the spanking, she grabbed a calendar that, the calendars that had the images on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it
Wall.
was like, right. And it said, call us 1-800 child abuse.
Ah.
So she's holding this sign as a sign up to my mom and going, child abuse, child abuse, child abuse, because my mom's going to spank her for some dumbass thing she did.
Right.
So my mom said, go ahead, call that number, see what happens. And my sister's like, what? And I'm like, no, no, no. Now you call that number. She's like, and they're going to give you one outfit, one pair of shoes, and a mattress to sleep on. Because if you call that number, you're not staying here.
Right.
She was like, oh, shit. And so she took her spanking.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, the kids don't realize what's on the other side.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't. They've got no fucking clue. They think their comfortable, cushy, so happy lives are so fucking hard and so miserable. And I'll tell you what, I was one of those kids too, right?
Right.
This is so fucking unfair. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, go fuck off. This is
Right.
ridiculous. You know what I mean? But yeah, she was like, oh. That they use it, a bargaining chip.
Right. Right. I heard this story one time about this kid that said he was going to run away, and so the wife, the mom said, "Well, fine, go ahead, run away."
Mhm.
And so he
Yeah.
went to his room to pack his stuff, and she goes, What are you doing?" So she went to her room or he went to his room to pack his stuff.
Okay, I got poor connection again. We're gonna have to try again. So hold on.
Okay.
All right. I don't know why we have poor connection. Okay, tell that story again. Start from the beginning.
Okay, so I know this mom that her son said he was in the middle of being punished, and he said he was just going to run away. And she was like, okay, fine, go. You think it's better out there, go ahead and run away. So he goes to his room to pack his shit, and she's like, what are you doing? Well, I'm packing my stuff. And she goes, that's my stuff. You can leave, but this is my stuff. Mommy and Daddy bought you this stuff.
Not you.
So he was like, well, fine, I'm leaving. And she went to walk out the door. He went to walk out the door. And she was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm leaving. And she said, I bought those clothes. And she said her husband went to say something, and she was like, shut up. You stay out of this.
Yep.
And she walked up to him, and as quick as ever, pulled his shirt up, pulled his shorts down, shoved him out the fucking door, and locked it.
butt ass naked.
She said he had his boxers on or something, but he's in the middle of the fucking front yard. And now he's like pressed in between the door and the screen door crying. And she was looking at her husband saying, "Don't you dare let him in." So eventually he like ran to the backyard and hid back there until he got over his running away thing. But it was hilarious. Like now that parent would end up on the news, right? Mom throws her kid out of the house in underwear for the world to see.
Exactly, and that's the problem. She was disciplining her child how he needed a real dose of fucking reality.
Right.
And instead of our society with the media encouraging this mom, saying, good job for fucking taking care of your kid, you get fucking punished for it.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. And you know what I tell media? Stay the fuck out of my business.
Right, right. Well, I think,
how I raise my kid is none of your business. Right. And you know what? As long as I'm not beating them, abusing them, fucking calling them horrible names, neglect, it's none of your fucking business.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. Because if not, if it gives these kids this entitlement that they're now taking to their teachers, to police officers, to other adults of, well, you can't talk to us like that. Who the fuck are you? Yes, I can.
Yeah, I can.
You're a child.
What was it? What's the phrase? My mom always said, I brought you in this world. I'll take you out.
Yeah, right.
She wasn't kidding.
I know, right? My dad either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you're right. The media does overreact, and we've talked about that a few times. The media is insane when it comes to making things more than they are. Right. It does surprise me that the shooting that happened in Texas, I can't even find on Fox News today, and it hasn't even been, has it been a week? Yeah, just over a week now. That we can't even find it, that it's so normalized now.
I think also part of the problem is we are becoming more and more like China. So, in China, certain information is not allowed into their public, right? Mm-hmm. So, they filter and they, what's the word? Not solicit. They, help me out. Help me here. What's the word? No. They control what their people read, hear, everything. They control it all. Our media is controlling what we're listening to, what we're hearing, what we're seeing. Same time as the hurricane was going on, did you know Hong Kong had a revolution?
No,
So Hong Kong was, and I don't know the whole thing, and I may get this wrong, but Hong Kong was part of the British, and then somehow or another China came involved, but Hong Kong refused to be part of a communist state. Okay? Because, China is a communist state.
Right.
So they refused to. So China had accepted that Hong Kong will be part of China. However, they still had their own diplomatic rights. So they could still run their country like a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, China was coming in and saying, well, nope, you got to be part of the whole socialist. The people of Hong Kong says, you can't make us do it. We'll leave. We'll leave this country, and then when you leave, we'll come back and take it. So China shut down all the airports and trapped all these people in Hong Kong. So right. The people went to the streets and protested and demanded. They fought for their right to have a democracy the same way we fought for ours. Right. They were waving our flags in the street. They were praising the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't hear a fucking peep about it on the media. Why? Because the media doesn't want us to be inspired by democracy. They want us to be contained with communism.
You think so?
Yeah, damn right I think so.
You think?
I want you to take a step back and watch what's on the news. And
Yeah.
but then do some research and look at world news. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to think about what they're telling us.
Right.
They're not telling us fight for your freedom. They're
Mm-hmm.
telling you you should be mad at your neighbor. They're
Right.
telling you that, this is wrong. You should not discipline your child. They're
Mm-hmm.
controlling our education. It's horrible. Do you know that Harvard is attacking single-sex organizations? So like the Greek fraternities and sororities. In Harvard, if you participate in a single-sex organization, they will deny you scholarships. They
Uh-huh.
will deny you other leadership positions on their campus, and they can even deny you graduation.
Mm-hmm.
That's unconstitutional. They don't have that right.
Is
So
Harvard a public or private school?
I think it's public.
Is
It's
it?
a yeah. But you can't tell someone they can't be part of an organization.
Well, isn't that what Chick-fil-A does?
How does Chick-fil-A do that?
Isn't Chick-fil-A against same-sex marriages and have
But
come out?
they hire gay employees.
Are you sure? I thought there was a
Yes.
huge thing about that.
There was a huge thing about that. Absolutely. The company owner,
Uh-huh.
yes, he does not agree with same-sex marriages. However, they hire gay employees. They don't discriminate their employees.
So Harvard is a private institution.
Okay.
So my question to you on that is, do you think that in a country where we have the right to be, we have rights, right? And if that's a private institution that is not getting federal money, do they have a right to make their own rules? Just like a business like a cake company, there's been
Okay.
cake businesses that refuse to make cakes for gay marriages. Now,
Yep.
it's a private company. Do you think that they have the right to say that?
What, for the cakes?
Yeah, because it's a privately owned company.
Yes, but however, and again, here's a slippery slope. I kind of agree with it because it's religious preferences. We're not talking about a religious preference. Harvard's not saying, I don't want you to be part of this. If you are this religion, we're not going to accept you, which, you know what I mean?
No,
We're not going to educate you.
Yeah, the cake company is not talking about religion. They're just talking about sexual preference. If you are gay and getting married, we're not making your cake.
Because they don't believe in gay marriages because of their religion.
Well, you're assuming that. We don't know that. We're just saying, because I don't think gay is even considered religion now, right? It's a sexual preference.
No. I'm saying the people who make the cakes do not believe in gay marriage because of their religion.
Okay.
They don't believe in their religion, gay marriage, in their religion, man is between a man and a woman. Not that I agree with that, because I have no problem with gays getting married. And in fact, I would actually agree with the fact that the government has no fucking say over anybody's marriage. Government should not be telling I should not have to file for a marriage license to fucking marry my husband.
Right.
Why do I have to pay the government to marry my husband?
Right.
That's not what marriage is about. But the government sure is getting his fucking piece, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. So
and
back
then you gotta and then if you want to divorce them, you gotta pay them more.
Yeah. So back to Harvard, since it's a private school, do you think that they have then the rights to say, in this school, we only allow XYZ?
No.
Why not?
No. Because then they could turn around and say, well, if you're a Democrat, we're not going to allow you here.
Mm-hmm. But it's a private
well, what
school.
do you think would happen?
Well, what do you mean?
Do you not think the media would be up in fucking arms if Harvard said, I'm sorry, if you are a Democrat and you have liberal views, you are not allowed in our college? What do you think would happen?
Well, I think people would be upset about it, but aren't people upset about whatever they're saying about gay institutions and
Did you hear about it?
No.
That's my point.
But that doesn't mean people don't care. Maybe it's just like this shooting. Maybe it's not top national news at the moment because right now it's hurricanes on Fox News still.
But that's my point. They're controlling the media. They're controlling what you're focusing on instead of what you should be. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, but then why isn't, because most of the media is pretty liberal, then why aren't those news outlets reporting it?
Because they're conservative views. Fraternities and sororities are considered a conservative organization. They're considered, even though we have a lot of liberal, and which is funny because we have a lot of liberal individuals in our organizations, right? In our fraternities and sororities, especially considering their age, because we have all ranges, okay? But for single-sex organizations are starting to be considered something of the past. However, the funniest part is when people are in, college students are in fraternities and sororities, they're more likely to have a higher GPA. They're more likely to volunteer, donate back to the community, and overall be a better student.
Oh, wait. Maybe I don't understand. So Harvard, what is Harvard doing again?
Harvard is saying that if you join a fraternity or a sorority, they will penalize you for it.
Oh, I thought when you said single sex, we were talking about gay people.
Oh my God, no!
That's why I was like, I don't understand what the difference between the cake place and Harvard is.
No, I was trying to make a connection between the two, but I didn't know what the hell you... No.
I appreciate you reaching on my behalf of my stupidity.
Woo. Yeah. All right, girl.
Okay, so they're against fraternities and
sororities.
Because
they are single sex organizations. So if you are if you have a sorority, you can only come in if you're a girl. And if you're in a fraternity, you can only come in if you're a boy.
So are they saying they want it to be joint?
Well, yes. So you have, and that's not the way the Greek system is set up. The Greek system, because mind you, my fraternity, which is an all-female fraternity, because we were established in 1871. 1871. They're now trying to say that that's not right, that you should be co-ed. And there are some co-ed fraternities out there. They're just not part of the Greek organization.
Right.
Okay. They're not part of the philanthropy that we're under. They're a whole different set. Okay. But they're ostracizing single-sex organizations. And it's wrong.
All right. I understand now. So I still think that because they're a private institution, they can do whatever the fuck they want. And then we can choose not to fuck with them, right? I mean, so that's the thing is that you can have your opinion and you can have your rules, and then we can choose just not to fuck with them.
Okay.
Go to Yale, go to Stanford, go to someplace else. If Harvard is doing something that you don't agree with, then take your super fucking smart ass that's got a lot of money to another school who will
So,
take your money.
okay, so then let me ask you this. So should then should the Boy Scouts not allow girls to be in the Boy Scouts? Because they sure as hell didn't have a single problem fucking up that organization because they felt it was unfair. But on the Harvard side, because it's a conservative view to maintaining them, they have no problem going, well, too bad. Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and disrupt the Boy Scouts by adding girls in.
No, I think that's fucked up. I think the Boy Scouts allowing girls in and the Girl Scouts allowing boys in it's fucking weird and it's unnecessary.
Right.
But I guess I see. So
You
this
see?
goes back to the point where what if you have a transgender child though? Do you want them in the Boy Scouts where they might be bullied and by the other boys where they might feel more comfortable in the Girl Scouts? Like why make them wait 10, 12 years to be in the group that they feel like they are anyways?
So should the whole group as a whole have to change for one person?
It's not just one person though, right? I mean,
Now, the amount of transgenders at the age of children that are really and truly transgender and not just trying to figure things out, do you know what I mean? Is so small in comparison to everybody else. Why do we do that?
yeah,
They're not a majority. I
right.
know it sucks, but they are not a majority.
Yeah, but then that's taking a point of view that we should support the majority and then fuck the minority. Like
No,
that.
I'm not saying to fuck the minority.
Yeah.
In our sorority, if a boy is a transgender girl and he's living his life as a girl, then yes, you can join a female, but you have to be living your life as a girl.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I am not about these kids that are like, I don't have a pronoun and I don't have this and I don't have a gender and all of this stuff. I am not about that. If you want to be a girl, fucking be a girl.
Right.
Because I'm like, look, you want to be a girl, fucking enjoy the pain of being a woman. Because
So
it's not an easy fucking task.
if there is an 8-year-old boy in that believes that he is a girl and is dressing like a girl and doing all of this, do you think that we should allow them in Girl Scouts? Or tell him that because he's 8 years old with still a penis, that he needs to go on to the Boy Scouts?
If he is dressing and participating and acting as such as a girl, then there should not be an issue because children at that age are not they're not partaking in the genitalia.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's no interfere. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of, playing devil's advocate on it because I don't have any experience with transgender children. I've seen them on TV. I've seen them on social media. I don't believe anybody would choose to be different in a difficult life if they had a choice. As the mother of a little girl, I'm not sure that I want little boys going on camping trips with my daughter. So that makes me where, I support whatever you want to do with your transgender child. I don't understand it, but I don't want to penalize that kid. But as a mom, I then have to make decisions for my own kid. Now that we've changed the rules, how will Sabrina react? I'm not going to make a big deal about it and say, that kid doesn't belong here, but I can choose for my daughter to join a club that maybe only allows girls to go camping or to send her to, something like that. Hey, unplug your microphone. I think it died. There you go. You have to hit your microphone button on this thing somewhere. I can't hear you. Oh, now I can hear you. No, I can't hear you. Mm-mm. I know this happened to me before. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. So you just want me to end it? Do you want me to say the ending? Okay. Do you want me to just say that we've had technical difficulties? Okay. All right. Well, we've run into some technical difficulties. This is now the Sabrina show. Now that Tabby has been muted and she's cracking up over there, guess what? I get to say whatever the fuck I want to say. So what Tabby really wanted me to say on her behalf is that she really agreed with everything I said, and I'm 100% right. Oh my gosh, she just called me a bitch. I can read your lips. And yeah, she's just Team Sabrina, of course. I mean, always, right? Anyways, as you guys know, we've run into some technical difficulties. So we're going to go ahead and end our podcast here. This was a great discussion. I loved where we went and where we were headed. And our prayers and thoughts go out to the residents of the Bahamas and the 44 people killed. And of course, the victims of the mass shooting in Texas. And if you have any comments, concerns, questions, email us at notasafespacepodcast@gmail.com. Tabby's laughing at me because I fucking hashtag nailed that one. So thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye.